2012, the Oklahoma City Thunder looked unstoppable. A young, hungry team featuring Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden has just made their first final appearance after bulldozing through three NBA powerhouses: the defending champions Mavericks, Kobe Bryant's Lakers, and the legendary Spurs. But what if I told you that this team, on the verge of greatness, was dismantled before they even got started? All because of $4 million. This is the story of how one trade changed the NBA forever. The decision to send James Harden to Houston didn't just break up a team, it robbed us of a dynasty and reshaped the league for years to come. Let's go back to where this story really begins. The 2007 NBA draft. At the time, the Seattle Supersonics were a struggling franchise, stuck in mediocrity with no clear path forward. But in 2007, their fortune changed when they selected Kevin Durant with the number 2 overall pick. Unfortunately, they were about to lose their franchise to OKC the following year. Durant was a generational talent, a 6'10" scoring machine with handles like a guard and a silky jumper. He immediately became the cornerstone of the future franchise. 1 year later, the Sonics relocate to Oklahoma City and become the Thunder. In their first draft as the OKC Thunder, they made a bold move selecting a dynamic but unproven guard named Russell Westbrook with the number 4 pick. Critics questioned the choice, but Westbrook's explosive athleticism and intensity quickly silenced the doubters. Then, in 2009, the Thunder struck gold again, drafting James Harden with the number 3 pick. Harden was the perfect complement piece to Durant and Westbrook. A crafty left-handed scorer who could facilitate, shoot, and break down defenders. Think about this. OKC drafted 3 MVPs in 3 consecutive drafts. 3! That level of talent evaluation and sheer luck is almost impossible to replicate. It's like finding a $20 bill in your jeans, your couch, and your car, all in one morning. By 2012, the Thunder had built a roster that was young, talented, and ready to dominate. But instead of keeping their core intact, they made one decision that changed everything. Fast forward back to 2012, the Thunder were fresh off their finals loss to LeBron's Miami Heat. But the future looked bright. Kevin Durant was just 23, Westbrook 23, Harden 22. 3 stars under 24 years old, all on the same roster. This was actually the youngest team to ever make an NBA Finals. The Thunder had built this team through smart drafting and patient development. Durant in 2007, Westbrook in 2008, and Harden in 2009. It was a basketball masterclass. Except for one small problem: the salary cap. Back in 2012, the NBA's cap was just $58 million, and OKC payroll was about to explode. Harden was eligible for a max contract, and the Thunder ownership decided they couldn't afford him. Instead of paying the luxury tax, GM Sam Presti made the call. Harden had to go. The Thunder did offer Harden $55 million over 4 years, $4.5 million less than the max deal Harden got from the Rockets. Harden, who averaged almost 17 points and 3.7 assists off the bench, was clearly a star in the making. Everyone were shocked that the Thunder, which is a small market team and is not exactly the most attractive destination for free agents, just let this opportunity go. Just look at what Harden had to say at the time. "I felt like I already made a sacrifice coming off the bench and doing whatever it takes to help the team. And they weren't willing to help me," Harden said. Later on, Harden was asked if he would still play with the Thunder had they paid him the max. "Definitely," he said. "Definitely, no question." OKC in response said, well, $55 million? That was unheard of at the time for a sixth man and would have made Harden the highest paid sixth man in league's history. But James Harden was no sixth man material. Anyone who had eyes could see it. In exchange for Harden, OKC received Jeremy Lamb, Kevin Martin, 2 first-round picks, one of which did become Steven Adams, and a second-round pick. Decent assets, but they traded James Harden. The beard. James freaking Harden. By 2013, Harden had transformed into a full-fledged superstar in Houston. He was an MVP caliber player who could score, create, and carry a team. Meanwhile, the Thunder tried to replace him with Kevin Martin, a solid shooter but nowhere near Harden's level. OKC still had success and did make the Western Conference Finals in 2016. But we all remember how that went with the infamous 3-1 lead blown against Golden State. Looking back at this series, you can see exactly why they needed that third star. the exact piece they traded away. And don't forget the timing. By 2015, the NBA's luxury tax system had softened, and by 2016, the salary cap spiked thanks to the new TV deal. If OKC had just held on to Harden for a couple more seasons, they could have kept their core intact without breaking the bank. Just imagine Durant, Westbrook, Harden in their primes playing together against the Warriors dynasty. That's the level of dominance we're talking about. Instead, we got what could have been. And do the Warriors even have a dynasty if OKC stays intact? So what if Sam Presti had traded anyone else instead? Picture this. Instead of moving Harden, Presti trades Kendrick Perkins and Nick Collison. Two great locker room guys, but not exactly franchise-altering players. With that move, OKC could have kept their big three and made another finals run. Would they have beaten the Heat in 2013? Maybe. What about the Spurs in 2014 or the Warriors in 2016? It's hard to say. But one thing's for sure, he would have had a much better chance. And just like in the movie The Butterfly Effect, we are going to assume that if Harden ends up staying, the Thunder do end up winning a championship, Durant doesn't leave to Golden State, and the entire timeline of NBA history changes. Does Westbrook ever have to carry the team solo? Does Westbrook end up becoming MVP? Instead, we got one of the worst trades in NBA history, one of the biggest what-ifs. Harden becomes an MVP, Durant left for the Warriors, and OKC was eventually bombarded into a rebuild by a 35-foot shot from Damian Lillard. The ripple effects of this decision are still felt in the NBA today. The Thunder went from a potential dynasty to the team that almost was. Meanwhile, the league's lost what could have been some of the greatest final matchups in history. KD versus Bron year after year. James Harden trade wasn't just a bad decision, it was a generational mistake. A team with 3 future MVPs was broken up over money, in a league where the luxury tax eventually became manageable. So what do you think? If OKC had kept Harden, would they have won a championship? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my video on the 2016 salary cap spike, another moment that reshaped the NBA forever. Until next time, stay legendary, and I will see you in the next one.